many times the child talks about too much political issues maybe, or they may talk about many things about the relationship. And
When the home environment, school environment, the conversations that they are overhearing, the conversations that they are part of amongst their peer group, they are certainly overinformed. But as far as their reflective abilities are concerned,
In a world driven by smartphones, social media, instant information, and constant digital exposure, childhood today looks very different from what it did even a decade ago. Children are becoming more aware, more connected, and perhaps more mature at a younger age. But while access to information has increased, an important question is, are children truly emotionally ready for everything they are exposed to? From academic pressure and online validation to exposure to global crisis, adult conversations, and digital lifestyles, today's students are navigating a world that leaves very little room for innocence, pause, or reflection. Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching Education News Network. I'm your host Nitya Krishnamurthy, and today we're discussing, are children growing up too fast in today's information age? To discuss this topic, we have two school leaders with us today. Joining us first is Ms. Vaishnavi Raj, Principal of SG International Public School, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am.
thank you.
We also have Ms. K.S. Jyoti, Principal of the Samhita Academy, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am.
thank you for having me here.
Thank you both for joining us today. To begin the discussion, I'd first like to invite Mrs. Vaishnavi Raj. Ma'am, do you think today's children are growing up faster emotionally, or are they simply being exposed to adult realities much earlier than previous generations?
So, good evening. They are not emotionally becoming, very, they are just, getting exposed to the adult world. But of course, they are using a lot of words what we adults we use without knowing the exact meaning of it. And by just listening to them about any particular topic, we cannot tell that they are matured enough to handle that situation or anything like that. So these days, because of mere exposure, they speak like an adult. They can, but of course, they cannot think like an adult. This is what happening in these days. I think they have to reflect upon before speaking, and also what they are intended to tell, they themselves don't know. They are just like, repeating the words what they have heard once or what they have seen once somewhere else. So for this, I feel we need to make them, it's not age appropriate, to be frank. So just imitating kind. So in this scenario, all the educators, we have to understand and make everyone understand that because the child speaks something big, the child acts also something big. The child may not be, emotionally, ready like an adult for this in this world. We have sometimes we get often confused by their words, so they are not matured enough, according to me.
So there needs to be guidance with regard to the information that is available
Yeah.
and how to use it.
Yes. A lot of guidance is required. It may be from the parents or it may be from the schools. We need to guide the child. Lot of, for example, now many times the child talks about too much political issues maybe, or they may talk about many things about the relationship, and also something related to the divorce and that these and all they know. Sometimes, I have heard in one of the one of the program where a child like 5 to 6 year old talking about divorce and all, which was really they just listen to some of the web series, this that and all, but actually what it is, what happens, what is the meaning of it, that they don't know. often we get, especially the anybody, the classmates or the society, what we think that the children are growing very faster. When we were children or when we were in that particular age, probably teenage or preteen, something like that, we were not having that much knowledge like that. We sometimes we think they are not yet, they are just telling it, they are not emotionally ready, or they are not equipped, they cannot think like an adult. That is what.
Right. Miss K.S. Jyoti, coming to you, do you believe today's children are over informed but under reflective?
I have a slightly different point of view here. They're certainly over-informed. There are no two ways about that, with the information overload coming from all parts of the environment, not necessarily digital. When the home environment, school environment, the conversations that they are overhearing, the conversations that they are part of amongst their peer group, they're certainly over-informed. But as far as their reflective abilities are concerned, I experience them as individuals who are capable of good amount of reflection. But for that, they need a environment which is conducive for reflection. They need safety which allows them to express themselves. In fact, I have seen children more reflective than adults. It's just about providing them the opportunity.
Right. So both the home and the school environments
Yes.
need to be conducive.
Need to be conducive because there's so much of information overload.
Right.
So we have to help them sort of use their discretion.
Yeah. And also, ma'am, how do schools and parents help students to slow down and process what they consume online?
See, as far as schools are concerned, the consumption of online material is limited. So at the most, schools present some things to them in the classroom. But again, the school cannot say that we are not responsible for what they do at home, because as schools, it is our responsibility to bring in the awareness about what they are consuming, how much they must consume, when they consume too much, what happens. All this, definitely there is a large amount of responsibility that lies with the school.
Right.
And with the parents, it has to be a collaborative effort between the school and the parents, because end of the day, most of the children, at least in Bangalore, if I say, they're not carrying mobiles to school. At the same time, we cannot say that they should not use mobiles. So then whatever is being done at school, if the parents can reinforce the same value system, the same thought process, and support them in using their discretion, that would be helpful.
Right.
They can't be left to themselves to find their way. And in my view, as an educator, children cannot be blamed for the overuse.
Absolutely.
They have the time, they have the resources, they have the opportunity, they have the freedom. And who has provided all of this? Adults.
Yes.
So they can't be blamed for this.
Right. Yeah. So, Ms. Vaishnavi, in an age where students can access information instantly, do you think schools are doing enough to teach reflection and emotional maturity?
Yes, so most of the schools we may have not be able to do for 100%, but definitely we are trying our best. And as we all know that the children gets very instantly, very quickly all the information, reflection and what I am consuming. Sometimes what happens, consuming is very faster than comprehending. So whatever they are seeing, understanding about it, and what am I speaking? Sometimes just like a parrot, they keep talking about few things. I feel what to the schools have the reflection somewhere where they can think and then reflect upon what they are consuming, and then put it across like that. And as ma'am told, that's a good point where we have to we cannot regulate the children based on, because when obviously the children are very much inclined and very much get attracted towards digital. Even as an adult, every one of us, half an hour now the mobile is out of our hands, we feel very discomfort. So but it's obvious that the children at this age, they are very much glued to the mobile. So we need to sensitize and very frequently how much is too much. I always tell my colleagues and children, and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Draw a line, a thin line, and also where what exactly the merely the usage of that phone for what purpose, and for what exactly they are supposed to do. So if they restrict and if they understand that point, probably they may able to do it in a very, the schools can sensitize the children and also the parents. So sometimes both of them are working and they don't have any role to play in reducing their screen time. Probably we need to do very frequently, and also multiple activities wherein the child should think himself, introspection kind.
Yeah,
So that
introspection is very
yes,
important.
yes, that is very much important instead of imposing things. So I feel that is very important.
So, as far as the school environments are concerned, I see a lot of schools, including ours, where there are these specialized programs which are designed, which are typically non-academic in nature, and they're not preachy by any means, where children have a scope for discussions. And there is a scope for the facilitators, for the teachers to build perspectives. So that is the way forward, I believe. And also, as when we come to the academic part, we generally tend to believe that academic and non-academic is like two different compartments, but today that's not the case. So as academic as possible, if I talk about lesson planning has to have a component for reflection. And that reflection is for the teacher as well as for the students. So there are multiple ways in which these spaces can be created, opportunities can be created in a way that reflecting, introspecting, self-awareness becomes a way of living.
Right.
And that's a skill which gets developed over years and years of work.
Yes.
So schools certainly are into it today, and I'm sure that it's only going to pick up.
Right. So, ma'am, I'd also like to ask you, has constant exposure to social media and digital culture made childhood more performative and less authentic for students today?
It certainly has. It certainly has made it more performative, because from what I see and notice, whatever is the outcome, it is to be celebrated. Yes, agreed. Now, in what way is the celebration happening? Being posting on WhatsApp status, by the parents, by the school, posting on the Instagram and whatever social media they are using. So the child has to constantly perform. For who? For the adult to post it somewhere, for the adult to get the validation, and the adult in turn passing that validation on to the child. So it's certainly more performative, and it is really sad.
Yes. Right. And how can this be changed? By doing away with social media again? I don't think that's the solution.
I don't think we can do away with social media. We can regulate, and also, see, there is a difference between now we are going to the other extreme, where we want to celebrate everything at a larger scale. So is there a way that we can still celebrate a child without necessarily every single time that being on the social media? Is it possible? And is it only for the school to do, or is it also for the parents to do? So a combined effort from the adult world can make a difference.
Right. And
Then
I think
it
this
need not be
applies to
performative.
anything, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Ms. Vaishnavi, are children today losing the ability to experience boredom, patience, and delayed gratification because of instant digital stimulation?
Yes, yes. So this, for anybody who has a small kids at home, they keep complaining. And once you tell them to do something, they immediately do, and after that, what next? They will come and ask immediately. So what happens, when you are alone, when you are without any action, constantly, if you are thinking and, for consuming something, you can't, think, and, your metacognition, all those things will not act. What happens, the children is constantly getting these kind of stuffs. This is definitely they are not able to they get out of that boredom for 5 minutes also. quickly they get, they have to. That is the reason why we have been seeing the children anywhere, if they are not eating, we'll give them with the, mobile, and, we'll feed them. And even we want to make our lives easier.
That's the reason we do it.
That is the
yes.
reason, make all the adults what we are doing. So we, to make them sit for 5 or 10 minutes silently, what we will do, we will give them. And I have also have seen in most of the countries, even the prams which the children they take, why the children are not crying. I was worried. They have, some digital devices attached to it, and children are very without any, like, the children were not behaving like a children.
Right.
That is what I have seen. I feel they cannot, unless and until we give that experience without mobile. So digital detox or something like that, they cannot understand what is the world without it. So probably we may have to, we ourselves have to also do it, and also we have to recommend the children and the parents for it.
Right. You rightly said that children are not behaving like children these days, which is becoming a tragedy, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are we role modeling? The instant gratification, what the children are seeking, and we blame them for it. What exactly are we role modeling? So the minute I want something, I am going to place an order, and it will come in with Blinkit or Zepto or whatever, 10 minutes. I am not having, the adult is not having the patience, is not exhibiting the patience to wait. Then how do you expect the child to? And the child is demanding something, we want to get rid of the tantrum. It's immediately 10 minutes, it'll come. Just keep quiet for some time. Give me the peace that I want. That's not going to help. So there is this, when we talk about instant gratification, I think the adult world has to role model it.
Right.
Irrespective of parents or teachers.
So we've come up with the problem and we're blaming kids for it.
We created this. Now, who
yes.
created this world? And what did we create it for? We created it for more comfort, so that we have more time. More time to do what? To do what? Improving the quality of life in what way? I mean, these are reflective questions for adults to think through. And when we are finding that time, what are we doing with it? If we are on social media, if we are consuming so much of data which is not required, then we are not the right role models. I think we adults need to relook at it.
Right. And also, ma'am, I'd like to ask you, with students being socially aware at a very young age today, how can schools encourage empathy and emotional resilience without overwhelming them with the anxieties of the adult world, since there's so much exposure? Like ma'am said, they know about divorce and all of that. How do we do this?
See, what is being done at this point in time, again, my school and many other schools, I'm pretty sure, there are empathy circles which are run. There are quality circle time which is run. And this is one of the tools.
Yes.
And then those spaces and opportunities where the children build perspectives. So then you can take up situations without naming. We have to prepare well. And then talk about it. Talk about it openly. Children by nature are empathetic. They are. It's just that the adult world and the world around them kills that empathy over a period of time. So the exposure is here to stay, social media is here to stay, all that is here to stay. What can we do? Create these spaces not only in school but also at home, and role model empathy. See, if I preach my child, you should be empathetic, and then, at a traffic light, I'm not allowing an ambulance to pass by. What am I role modeling? The child is watching. You can give a lot of gyan on empathy, kindness, and all the values. But if you are not exhibiting it, it's not going to help. If as a teacher I talk about empathy, but I am unable to give a child an extension of a day for the homework, that's not teaching the child anything. So I would think creating spaces and actually practicing what we want them to learn, that's the way forward.
Because our behavior teaches them a lot more than our words ever will, right?
The parents and schools, teachers penalize children for using language which is called bad. Where are they picking it up from? We blame the OTT, but is OTT the only place? They hear their parents swearing.
Yes, of course.
We can't get away from that.
Right.
And younger children, they come and talk to us about everything. They spill all the beans.
Yeah.
So it's a very embarrassing situation when we have to speak to parents.
Yeah, parents, please take note.
Yes, please make a note. So children are processing all that you're saying. Everything is getting recorded.
Right.
And at a very young age. You cannot bring in empathy when the child is a teenager.
Yeah.
Like I was mentioning during our earlier conversation, By the time the child is a teenager, the situation is a crisis. It is typically like a ICU scene. You can't go back to the symptoms and sit and do diagnosis for days. You can't. You need to provide emergency care. It becomes about survival, life and death. Many situations, literally life and death. Then you can't go back. So it is very important, imperative that the children are given the right kind of environment both at school and at home by the adult world, which will take care or probably mitigate a large amount of impact of the social media, which is impacting them negatively.
Right.
We can't take it away. That will not help. How do we strengthen this side is the question.
Yes. And that bond between the parent and child needs to be there from the beginning itself.
Yes, a very balanced one.
Yes, right. So, Ms. Vaishnavi, are parents in schools unintentionally placing adult pressures on children too early, in your opinion, from academic competition to personal branding and even career guidance, career planning?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. The parents and whoever, whatever the children needs to get adjust to the environment and grow. We have to give them some time to grow them academically and express their views and all. Sometimes we as parents and sometimes we as teachers also impose our thoughts. Ma'am also gave a very good, I remember one quote, children are great imitators, give them something great to imitate. So here what happens, the unfulfilled desires of the parents. So sometimes, that keeping that in mind, and the competition levels, the parents are simply giving the unrealistic goals, targets to the children, where we always talk about the SMART goals, sometimes measurable, sometimes, when the child is age appropriate teaching, sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes quite difficult for the child. Some child may be vocal about it, some people not vocal about it, and as ma'am told, some they need lot of counseling, somebody to understand them, because where to say. Most of the cases, what I have seen, very rarely, and these parents, before becoming the parents, they should know what parenting is.
Absolutely.
Because to get into any occupation, you need training, nurse, teachers, and doctors and all. But here we need to understand, because we right from the 0 to probably 18, that age group, what is the psychology of the child and how we are supposed to tell them, all those things we as a parent sometimes very rarely, and some people, as we discussed, they misunderstand also what they know. Some people think that they know very well and often make lot of mistakes. Some people unknowingly make the mistakes. This is what I have heard. So keep the expectation low and make the child understand, what they want to become instead of these unrealistic things, and keep it simple, and as let them understand their strengths and weakness, and then proceed with the whatever goals what they want to achieve. Yeah.
Right. So, lastly, Ms. Jyoti, I'd like to ask you, what does protecting childhood realistically look like in 2026 when technology and information are impossible to completely shield students from?
I would think a very carefully curated effort would be required to protect childhood, to protect, literally protect. And when I say that, it would be something as simple as actually allowing your child to experience playing in the mud without getting paranoid about, will it cause any sickness. For schools, allowing the children to run sometimes.
Yeah.
They should. They can't be kept protected and caged and put in bubble wraps. Allow them to do certain things, allow them to experience some things where there's no risk to life. And also, sometimes if they fight, children fight. I mean, that's how they grow up. Even if simple things like fights in the childhood, they're normal. Allow them, and then allow them to conflict manage.
Conflict resolution, problem solving, that's how it comes, right?
And allow it to happen organically. Because if we are rushing in every time, we are not protecting childhood.
Yes.
We are wrapping a bubble wrap. That's not
Right.
helpful.
Yes. Very well said. Thank you.
So I would like to add that, I think we also need to look at it with a bit of an empathetic lens towards the parents. It was not that earlier the pressure was not there. Earlier pressure was only about being a doctor or engineer. There was pressure. But the difference was the child was not lonely to deal with the pressure. Today the child is actually lonely to deal with the pressure. So that is the difference. And the parent anxiety is, at least a country of our size, the parent anxiety is pretty normal. It can happen. Your child has to get selected among slacks. The point is, can the parents also get some guidance around how to go about it? And the opportunities are plenty. Many times there's not much awareness. Awareness is only around the opportunities that we had. So if the parents could get more exposure around it and more guidance, things will certainly get better.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This brings us to the end of today's panel discussion. Thank you both for sharing such thoughtful and valuable insights today.
Thank you, Nitya.
Thank you.
Today's conversation reminds us that children are not just growing up in a digital age, but in an age of constant exposure, comparison, and acceleration. Technology and information have undoubtedly opened remarkable opportunities for learning and awareness. But they have also changed the pace at which childhood unfolds. The real challenge before educators and parents is not simply limiting screen time or controlling access to information, but creating environments where children still have the space to reflect, build emotional resilience, make mistakes, and most importantly, to simply be children. In preparing students for the future, we must ensure that we do not rush them out of their childhood before they are truly ready. Thank you for watching Education News Network. For more such discussions and education updates, please visit our channel, theenn.com, and make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. For now, signing off, this is Nitya Krishnamurthy.